We're super excited to kick this off with a gentleman, and I say gentleman, Jim Young, whom I've known for quite a while. Jim is the founder, and he runs a real estate consortium, which they host a conference, RealComm, every year. So Jim is consistently meeting with leaders in the commercial building space. And he's a technologist, so he loves technology like I do. And he's great at sharing his vision of what's going to happen. So I love giving Jim to you guys to help you all see the big picture. So he's coming in virtually. He couldn't be with us in person. So but he will be live. So is Jim online now? Is he there?
I'm here.
Gentleman Jim Young, Mr. Young, welcome to the program.
Hello, sir. How are you?
There he is. Bigger than life.
I'm gonna like grab you, Scott. Run across the stage. I'm gonna reach down for you and just pull you into the screen.
Can't put a finger on me, Jim.
Yeah, digitally you're right. Good to be here, as always. So what do you want me to talk about? I really haven't prepared anything, so I'm going to kind of wing it.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. How about telling us about the state of technology in the industry today, Jim? What are some of the latest trends, and what are you guys getting ready for with your group?
Well, yeah, never seen it at this pace, this intensity as far as the technology change. But let me take you through a deck, and then I got 20 minutes, I think.
Yep.
Let me take you through a deck as quick as I can, and then let's you and I get back at the end for a few minutes and ask me a question or two. But before we get started, I think I heard that your theme was baseball.
Our theme is.
I think, and so. There's my contribution to your theme. Girl on the left is my daughter. She's a softball pitcher. Her friend Olivia on the right is a catcher. First clue. This is a practice, North Shore, in Del Mar, California. There's a hint in this, a shot. I don't know if anybody of you are going to be able to pick it up or not. See anybody that looks familiar in that shot? Nope. How about now? Anything? How about now? That's all right. There he is, your manager, Mr. Osmus. I believe managed your team for a few years.
He did.
And
yep.
My daughter was fortunate enough to have him as a softball coach.
Wow! How cool!
Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
And then my last baseball contribution is go Padres. All right, let's get going. So if you know my presentations, they're becoming more serious over the years, and it's for a reason. It's the intensity and the speed at which technology is changing. It's geopolitical changes around the world, and I think at the end of this deck, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So in 20 minutes, I hope to take you from 2020 or 2002 to this morning. I included an article that I got sent this morning, and I think it has a lot of relevance to what we're going to be talking about. So I'm a context person. You know, if you're looking at the view at the maze this way, it's kind of hard to understand. You know, so imagine you get up every morning, you go to work, you got your job. This, you know, you look at it like this. But what happens when you look at it like this? Excuse me. You get to see maybe a little bit how you're going to get through that maze a little, a little better. You maybe think you should go straight or left or right. So what I always like to do is rise above, and that's what we've been doing for 27 years. In addition to paying attention to what's happening today, we're always looking what's coming, and not just in the United States, but literally around the world. So Google Earth, everybody I think is familiar with that. If you notice the date, June 11, 2001, that was RealComm. Google Earth was officially announced at RealComm 2001. So you say, okay, well, why are you showing me this? Context. Something that we were very aware of in 2001 is now a household name with everybody using it every single day. But more relevant to this conversation, if you look at that date, 2002, The topic was network appliances connecting buildings and processes to the net. And I heard some of your earlier speakers talking about moving to the cloud and everything. So look at the time difference, 2025, 2002, that's a 23-year differential. If you want to play around with some algorithms, that can kind of plug into the adoption curve. In other words, what I talk to you about later in this deck, how long is it going to take everybody in this room to adopt what I talk about today? Okay, is it going to take 20, 23 years? So, I mean, we literally identified the concept of attaching a network appliance to the internet, an HVAC device, an access control, a lighting system. In this article, like I say, it was April 16, 2002. So there's the context for what I'm going to talk about. Here's another one of our famous slides, if you will. This was conceived in 2010, I believe, or 2008, coming back from Dubai. Finally turned into a slide in 2013. You can see basically all the different systems onto the network. Notice that little red box. That's cybersecurity, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And then that yellow circle, that should actually be to the left a little bit. That's where the AI will come into this conversation. But if you look up at the top of that diagram, in 2010, call it, that's 15 years ago, business process automation, machine to machine, or as one of your speakers said, autonomous buildings. So once you connected these systems to the network and the data was put in the right place, now the magic, or sometimes the scariness, happens when you're talking about the future in AI. I love this one. A little later, 2015, 2018 timeframe. Ask yourself, what number are you? Are you in the past, building automation, proprietary closed? Are you in the present? I'm smart and connected, integrated, interoperable, IP-centric. Or am I in the future, BIoT, which is smart edge, cloud? And look at that. We had that word artificial intelligence in our graphic in 2018, which is 7 years ago. We've been talking about AI in the RealComm, IBCOM world for a long time. Just the problem is not a lot of people were really paying attention. All right, so a lot of your presenters were speaking on AI. It is the topic of the day. Might as well just rename RealComm and IBCOM, Buildings AI. We spun this event up right after ChatGPT 2022. This was 2023, where we got a bunch of people together in Silicon Valley to talk about artificial intelligence as it relates to the built environment. It was a honeypot event, what I call. Basically, the idea there is you put an event out and you see who are the early adopters, who are the innovators, who shows up. JLL was there, CBRE was there, Ernst & Young, McKinsey, all the big consulting companies. And we had probably about 100 people wanting to talk about AI for the built environment. From that, we came up with an advisory group. A bunch of people get on the phone every month, and we talk about how is this going to be used in the built environment. These are all the use cases we came up with, okay? And you can see building optimization. But there's a whole bunch of other things going on in buildings that are going to be impacted by AI. AI is not a concept anymore. It was conceived, 50, 60, 70 years ago. And really met the modern conversation in 2022 with ChatGPT announcement, but it has been building and in the rooms of Silicon Valley entrepreneurs for at least 10, 15 years. We're just now starting to see it. But more importantly, we're trying to figure out how does this apply to our industry. So the message here is trains left the station. AI is not going away. But here's the more interesting point. It is moving faster than any technology platform that I've seen in my almost 35 plus years of tech. What that means is I can calculate how fast we move from mini computers to PCs. I can calculate how fast we move to the cloud, how fast we move to mobile. AI is breaking all of the records. Last year at the conference, we actually had a Buildings AI Symposium. We're doing it again this year, 2.5 hours devoted to artificial intelligence as it relates to buildings. But the most exciting part of all of our AI conversations, our team's been working, we're going to have 15 case studies, probably 60%, 40%, 40% being the building automation stuff. We're going to have 15 case studies that basically you can go talk to the people, optimizing HVAC, security, as well as the enterprise applications. These are real life examples of how AI is being used in our industry today. It is not in the future. It is not some hypothetical thing, ChatGPT, where I can put some images and have some fun. This is already impacting the built environment, and it's just a function of how fast you want to jump on. All right, this is a little demo here.
Oh, by the way, have you met Quinn? I work closely with Quinn to handle the bulk of maintenance requests. In fact, since we started this conversation, I've already received a maintenance request for a water leak. Quinn, how about you take it from here?
Thanks, Lynn. As your maintenance management assistant, I've handled the water leak. Vendor is scheduled and the tenant has been updated. I'll monitor it until it's fixed. You're all set.
So there was no human intervention. That maintenance request went from an enterprise platform. A request came from the tenant. It alerted the technicians. The process automation was all impacted by artificial intelligence, and those two people were not people. They were AI representations of people, and if you want, that second gentleman could have been Scott's face, okay? It didn't have to be who you saw. All you need to do is take a quick photo of Scott, put his face on there, do a quick voice print, get his voice in there, and your customer service property management rep is now looking and sounding like Scott Cochran. And it's not hard to do. That will be fully demonstrated at the conference, as well as a general session surprise. We always bring some crazy technology out, and you're going to see something on our stage that you probably have not seen in the United States yet. Okay, so this was another demo I saw last week, a sketch of a building from a napkin, taken a picture by a phone, automatically creates a 3D rendering. You can move those walls with your mouse, but here's the funniest part. They were talking about when you get the specifications in from the different controls vendors, you basically can just click a button and have that proposal actually represented visually on this rendering, meaning it places all the cameras where they go, it shows where the controllers need to be, and I said, I have no idea how you could do that, but they assured me that that is going to be the next phase of this particular AI application. Last but not least, Michael Sherwood's one of our advisors this year. He works for NVIDIA, so we're going to get up to the minute front-end space. NVIDIA's in the news every day. Hopefully you bought the stock a year ago. NVIDIA is going into building automation like you would not believe. They want to bring artificial intelligence down to the chip level, which means in the device. Everything's going to ship from the manufacturers with AI on-prem, AI on the device, not just in the building. And it's, I can't even conceive of how fast this is going to go, but when he told me the things they're already doing, he's in charge of the real estate side with NVIDIA, getting this stuff out into the market. So that's going to be exciting to hear what he has got to say. All right, there's one of your own, Greg. He is the director of REC, the Real Estate Cyber Consortium. That's my next topic. If there's any reason everybody in that room wants to come to the conference, our conference, it's the Cyber Forum. Let's see a show of hands. How many? Raise your hands. I can see it's a little dark in there. Raise your hands if you have heard of Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon. Raise your hands. Scott, help me a little bit. Any hands going up in there?
I see about 3 or 4, Jim.
All right, so last year, 2024, Volt and Salt Typhoon, our government found Chinese malware buried inside of our major telecommunications infrastructure. Take your phone out of your pocket, hold on it, and the system that provides technology services to that phone has now been impacted by Chinese malware. Volt Typhoon is all of our critical infrastructure. Think dams, think nuclear power plants, ports, and we are now 7 months later from when they found it, and they still cannot tell us that it's out of the system. The FBI just put out a $10 million reward in China, or anybody wants to tell how they did it, because our intelligence capability still does not know with 100% certainty how they got in, or worse, how they are they really out. I've been debriefed by CISA and the FBI in the last 60 days. Both agencies have told me that in 2027, the Chinese are going to start clicking mouse buttons much faster, which means all the buildings that you put equipment in are going to be a direct target. This is this morning. Remember I said I'm going to take you from 2002 to this morning? Yesterday, The Stanford Review, Uncovering Chinese Academic Espionage at Stanford. We have all known this has been going on for years, but for some reason they want to admit it. Finally, Stanford is starting to admit it. This is going on in all of our major universities. So what does that mean? The technology going into our building has to be scrutinized at a level never before, down to the circuit board. You need to understand that supply chain, every chip, every board, and we're going to be disclosing some stuff at the conference about just how bad it is in the built environment. We're going to have some private meetings, we're going to have some public breakouts, as well as talking about this on the cyber forum. And then this morning I get an email with this lovely news. The former CEO, Eric Schmidt of Google, basically says they're no longer trailing, they are passing ahead of us. And Scott, if you remember any of the presentations I've done to this audience over the years, I have been warning about this for at least, well, it's been 20 years, but in your community, I probably have said something like this for at least the 5. Guess what? It's here, game on, it's only going to get worse. All right, next big topic, low voltage. I know you all plug wires into controllers, into buildings, into systems, into devices. And with those wires, we control, we navigate, we monitor, we collect data. Well, this little topic is about 25 years old as well. The next thing you're doing over that wire is power. And I know we've had PoE discussions for years, but I will tell you that warehouse up on the top left, 400,000 square foot warehouse powered by FMP, fault managed power, high voltage, converted down to low voltage. That entire electrical architecture in that building is DC power. And there's a little control box. So, if you're looking at where is your organization going to be 5 years from now, you better start looking into this DC power because it's a whole new division of your integration services. And guess what? The return on investment in the power savings is going to give us that return that we've been looking for years with simple building automation, all the ways of trying to cost justify it. We can, but it's been hard. This power addition to this smart building conversation just makes it very, very easy to justify. Oh, and by the way, this is not only for small projects. This is going to be our general session keynote. The co-chairman of this company is building their corporate headquarters, which only one of the parts of innovation they're going to have is the DC power infrastructure. And I've heard claims of no AC plugs, no 110 plugs anywhere in this building. I'm not sure they're going to pull that off, but that's kind of the mission statement of making this thing 100% DC powered. All right, real quick, data standards. Yeah, the reason that I made all those different colors is because we have a lot of different standards. So we are going to have a data standards meeting at the conference, specifically about smart buildings. These are all the organizations that we're going to get in a room. Some of the leading ones that we've been working with, Haystack, Oscar, and others, but there are BACnet, of course, ASHRAE. We're trying to get all these people into one room to get to know each other, to see where their standards overlap, to see how they can work together. Because guess what? We are not going to see more scale on the smart building front unless we figure out that we need a 2x4, a 2x2, a 2x6, and a 2x8. We can't have a 2x3.5. We need some real standards that everybody abides to. All right, kind of wrapping up, market headwinds in the office market, debt value problems, underutilization. In a lot of cases, these tall skyscrapers are functionally obsolete. That's a problem. Cybersecurity really, making its way into our conversation this year, as it has been for the last couple. And last but not least, tariffs. I believe that's going to be a short-term issue, and it's going to get resolved quickly. The market opportunities. I heard some of your earlier speakers talk about new construction versus retrofits. Retrofits are going to be, in my opinion, at least in North America, the game for the next foreseeable future. Sustainability, as always, energy efficiency, occupant experience, and the flight to quality, meaning, a lot of these B and C buildings, they're kind of toast, and the Class A office buildings are going to need to really step it up, and they're going to need you guys to be able to put systems into their building. All right, my final thought. The building automation IT, OT integration train has left the station. We wrote about it in 2.2. We've been on stages for the last 23 years talking about it. The cloud is real. In fact, we may be getting close to the next paradigm, which is going back to decentralized. That's a different conversation for a different day. But for right now, these things are real. They're in place. IP protocols, IP native cybersecure devices, a standard network, mobile, the cloud, and now AI. And basically, the longer you wait to jump on this train, the harder it's going to get. That's it.
Awesome.
How'd I do on time?
Thank you, Jim. That was great.
19 minutes and 4 seconds.
Jim, at the program coming up here, AI, I know, like, at the conference here, most of my sideline conversations, people have brought AI to my attention. You and I, like, geez, it was like less than like a year, maybe a year and a half ago, you started bringing these AI communities together. You mentioned how rapidly it's come together. Where do you see it going next, like with your group, with AI? Are we going to see real applications at the show? Like, I know we'll see case studies, but like, are there going to be products there now, you think? Yeah, absolutely. Well, the case studies all relate to a group of product offerings, okay? So we can't get to a case study unless there was a vendor involved. So when you start unpacking those case studies, there's 1, 2, 3, vendors usually associated with that. There's the general platforms, the OpenAI, the Groks, the Perplexities that everybody talks about in general terms, but there are now AI products and companies that are focusing just on the built environment. So yes, you are going to see products, demonstrations. I think one of the earlier speakers was talking about personal assistants in the building automation world, people shortage. We're going to have that. The people that you saw in my little demo there, Lynn, they become digital employees. So if it's whether it's an HR person or a finance person on the business side, or a building engineer on the smart building side, people are not taking these LLMs and they're giving it worldwide knowledge, so it can literally answer questions about your building in a real-time basis, many times faster than a technician or an on-prem engineer. So the digital employees seems to be really bubbling up a lot in our conversations. But yeah, you're going to see all sorts of different AI applications. And again, going back to my first statement, why I showed you that document in 2002, that's 23 years ago. Okay, and now we're just kind of wrapping round and third, to use your metaphor, round and third in taking our building automation to the cloud conversation. We're not going to have you're not going to have 23 years to wait to talk about AI. Yeah. Every single person in that audience right now has to start to embrace the idea that AI is going to be in every device, every controller, every cloud as it relates to a smart building. And the longer you wait, the more complicated it's going to get and the further behind you're going to be. Yeah, and your group, the commercial real estate group, I'm amazed at, in sitting in some of the calls with you, how willing they are to try it, to accept it as a part of their business. There's not a lot of fear, it doesn't seem like, with that group to utilize. Well, you got to remember, our RealComm IBCon is kind of tip of the pyramid as far as innovators, and then we've gone to the tip of that top pyramid to get those folks. In the general real estate industry, I did an event in San Diego about 3 weeks ago, had about 500 real estate people, a few real estate tech people. These are more the business leaders. Scott, the conversations were like 4 years old. They were asking such basic questions. I walked out of there scared. I go, these are the senior leaders of the real estate community in San Diego, California, the innovative state, California, and they were asking such basic questions. I said, they don't stand a chance. Yeah. What I'll compare that to is that event and the energy and the questions and the level of intellect. When you're all done and you take a little break today, go up to YouTube and type in NVIDIA's conference 2025. They just had their event about 3 weeks ago. You watch that conference and what they're talking about and how we're all going to live, work, and play, and then you contrast it to the built environment who's still trying to figure out how to get out of the pandemic, the gap is getting bigger. So yes, we've got phenomenal innovators inside the RealComm and the IBCon community, but our industry as a whole is absolutely in a wait and see. Which means there's a ton of opportunity, right, Jim? For your group, don't wait. Get an IT, 2, 3, 4 IT people on your teams. Get them into AI schools. They're all over the place. There's online courses.
But most importantly, start to experiment. Find a customer who's willing to try something. Come to an event like ours, see other case studies, start to figure out who the leaders in AI in buildings are. Do not sit on your hands and wait. We don't have time.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, as always, thank you.
And I'll see you in a month.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
Be well.
Thank you. Thank
Enjoy.
you very much.